In this video, I'm going to show you how you can take the K66 from looking like this to looking like this. This is the GamaKay K66. I've already reviewed this keyboard back when the company was called Womier, but there's something that makes this one in particular special and different from the original. At first it looks the same box with the new GamaKay logo, USB Type-C cable, cleaning brush, keycap puller, but oh wait! That's a key switch puller, because this is the hot swappable version of the K66. Since the K66 video, I've also reviewed the K87, which is also a hot swappable keyboard by GamaKay. That one's a 10 keyless one. They've also come out with the K61, which is a hot swappable 60% board, but I never had my hands on the hot swap version of the K66 until now. Another thing I found interesting is that the new version has different rubber stop pads on the bottom. The K66 and K87 have these little white flat pads, but the new version has these black little rounded kind of half orb pads. It's kind of interesting. They're higher ones in the back, so it gives the keyboard a little bit of a slant. Really the biggest difference here from this and the original is the hot swappability, but I think that is a huge difference that makes this board much more capable and much more exciting than the old K66. And the craziest part is this keyboard is only $59.99 on Banggood.com, who, by the way, sent the new version of the K66 to me for review. Since I've already reviewed the K66 and the main difference here is the hot swappability, I'm not really going to review it again. Instead, I'm going to show you what this little bad boy is capable of. So stick around, relax, we're going to do some sound test stuff, some fun little changes and modifications to this bad boy. Obviously, one of the biggest draws for this board is the RGB. It has full RGB not only under the keys but also all along the sides, with different individual lighting options for the keys and the sides so that you can have different color combinations all to your liking. But we've been through all this before. I want to get into the goods. I want to get into the fun stuff. The old model of the K66 I was sent had clicky blue switches, which are definitely not my cup of tea. They also came in red and brown, but I got the blue because that's what they had, I guess. But this time around, they've gotten more switch options, and I have here the Gateron Yellow switches. This is not to be confused with Gateron optical yellow switches if you've watched any of my videos on any boards with those switches. These are actual regular Gateron switches, which I very much prefer over the super light optical switches. Gateron Yellows are often praised because they are one of the smoothest switches you can buy at a budget price out of the box. Usually to get a really smooth linear switch, you're gonna have to either take them apart and lube them yourself, or you're gonna have to spend a little bit more money to get higher end, more custom level switches. That's not to say you don't want to lube the Gateron Yellows for the best and smoothest experience, but if you don't have the means or you don't want to lube them, the Gateron Yellows are gonna be some of your best options for a budget price ranged smooth linear switch. Feels great for typing, it's going to be good for gaming. If red switches already fatigue you in gaming though, then you might want to look elsewhere because yellows do require a little bit more force. But if not and you're cool with putting a little bit of extra oomph into your key presses, then the yellows are the way to go in my opinion. They of course still offer the classic red, brown, and blue variants, but there are also the black switches. I haven't really tried Gateron black switches, but I plan to eventually. But for this particular board, I really wanted the yellows. The Gateron Yellows are great, but say they're not good enough for you, say you do want to take them out just to lube them, you have that option, and it is super easy to just take those switches out and do what you want to do to customize this board. And so that's what we're going to do with this video. Now I am kind of cheating here. I do have some other Gateron Yellow switches that I already have lubed, so I'm going to be putting those into this board. But before we do that, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a sound comparison between 5 different switch configurations, sort of. These black bottomed Gateron Yellows that I have here, I actually bought on Banggood a while back. I actually lubed these with a super lube pen, which some of you may be wincing at hearing, but listen, I didn't have means to lubing other than this at the time, and it's worked pretty well so far. It's a little bit messy, but it is definitely something that you can do if maybe you don't have a board that you can desolder, maybe you don't have a hot swap board, or if you just want to be a little bit lazy and just want to quickly lube a board. It is an option. It's not the best option out there, but for me it's perfectly serviceable. So I'm going to do a little sound comparison between the stock Gateron Yellows that came with the K66, a Gateron Yellow lubed with the Super Lube pen, a stock Glorious Panda, a Glorious Panda lubed with Krytox 205 grade 0, then we have a 63 gram tangerine switch from the Key Company, which is factory lubed, and another tangerine switch that I have lubed with the Krytox 205 grade 0 as well. But wait, there's more! In addition, I'm also going to see what each of these sound like with 4 different types of keycaps. The stock keycaps that come with the K66, the Akko Neon keycaps, which are double shot 80% PBT cherry profile keycaps, these Akko Sakura custom keycaps, which are thick PBT dye sublimated keycaps that I actually also got from Banggood now that I think about it, and these super thick boys, the double shot ABS drop Susuwatari MT3 profile keycaps. That is a mouthful. I hope that was interesting to hear the different switches with the different kinds of keycaps, just to show you what they all would sound like on this board. I was going to replace all the switches on this board with tangerine switches, but I thought I would stick with the yellows just because it's going to be easier. You can always grab Gateron Yellows anytime you want. The tangerine switches are only available from the Key Company once every few months, and usually when they come into stock they're gone really quickly, so I wanted to show you guys what it sounds like with something more readily available. Now here is a full-on typing sound test with the stock switches and keycaps versus the Super Lube pen lubed Gateron Yellows with the Akko Neon keycaps. You may not be able to pick it up from the sound test unless maybe you're listening on headphones, but there is kind of an emptiness, kind of like a reverby sort of sound with the keys that's kind of there. It's not super apparent, it's subtle, but it is there. I think that really has to do with the materials of the keyboard itself, the case and everything, but there's not really a way to do anything about that with this board, so it's just something to keep in mind. Stabilizers do appear to be factory lubed, but not by much, so I have some dielectric grease here that I've applied generously to make sure that these things are nice and lubed to mute any kind of rattle or just not great sound. You might notice there's a little bit of a high-pitched sound on the right side of the spacebar and on the backspace key. That's because of the stabilizers. On my K87, I had that on the left side of the spacebar for the longest time, and it wasn't until I finally band-aid modded the stabilizer that it finally got rid of that sound. So I could do that with this board just to get rid of the sound altogether, and I may someday, but for right now, I'm just feeling kind of lazy, and I have to get this video done. So, you know, it at least sounds better. It sounds way better than the original stock spacebar. I also replaced the spacebar stabilizer on the board with a Durock stabilizer, simply because I had an extra one laying around and it's better. These Akko Neons are pretty sweet. They were sent to me by Maker, and I have a full review that I'm going to be doing for those, but they are pretty cool, and I have checked they are also on Banggood.com, also for $59.99. The weird thing is the right shift key that comes on the board is just a little bit bigger than the smaller shift key that I have in this set. So because of that, I actually had to take the stabilizers out of the shift key. Now there's like a little gap there that I'm trying not to let bother me. I'm not succeeding, but I'm trying. But you know what, I'll take the gap over the stock keycaps because to me this looks great. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the K66, better than ever now, with better switches, modded stabilizers, and new keycaps. Again, a lot of this you can get from Banggood.com. I only have affiliate links, I think, in the description for the board itself, but that's cool if you go down there and you do decide to buy some switches or some keycaps. It all helps toward contributing to the channel, which I greatly appreciate. And if not, you want to buy this stuff somewhere else, that's totally cool as well. You do you, and enjoy your new keyboard. If you liked this little modification video with the different sound tests and the keycaps and the switches and whatnot, I don't have a lot of boards I can do this with, but if I do have the option of doing it again in the future, let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. Maybe I will. Who knows? Maybe I will. Alright guys, I'm out of here. That's gonna do it for me. Thank you for watching the video. Throat's getting a little raspy. But, you know, it is what it is. We roll with the punches. I don't really know how to end videos.